Most people know by this point that Pokémon is a surprisingly dark franchise. It may look like an innocent show and game series for kids about magical animals, and well, for the most part it is, but there are plenty of spooky facts, fan theories, and mysteries within the franchise. This is the second video of 2 on the dark Pokémon Iceberg, and since we covered the top of the iceberg last time, we'll be diving deep into the lower levels today. Many of these entries are far darker and more obscure than the first half, so buckle in and get ready to dive into the lower levels of the dark Pokémon Iceberg. Quick disclaimer before we begin, this is the second half of the iceberg and is a little bit more dark than the first half. We will be talking about death and disturbing topics as well as classic stuff like creepypastas and spooky Pokemon. Nothing graphic is shown or discussed obviously, but there are dark topics, so just be warned about that. With that out of the way, let's get into part 2 of the dark Pokemon Iceberg. Before we get into things, I just want to give a huge thank you to Genshin Impact for sponsoring this video. Genshin Impact launches you into the magical world of Teyvat, where you can climb, swim, and glide your way through a stunning open world. Beautiful, varied locations, fun and unique characters, and tons of mysteries and storylines await you in Teyvat as you use the power of the elements to defeat enemies, solve puzzles, and explore. If you're like me and you love open worlds, exploring, character collection, flying and swimming mechanics, and fun fast combat, Genshin Impact is for you. There's a huge cast of playable characters to collect, all with amazing designs and unique abilities, so there's a character for every playstyle. My personal favorites are Jinyan, Hu Tao, Mona, and Fish, although I might be biased on those last two since I actually have them in my party. Genshin Impact's big version 2.5 update has launched and brought tons of new content to the game. From new enemies like the Shadowy Husk to new quests and events like Divine Ingenuity, which task travelers with creating their own domains, and of Drinker Dreaming, which puts travelers in the role of bartender at Deluxe Tavern. The 5-star characters Raiden Shogun and Sangonomiya Kokomi have also returned, again with absolutely amazing designs and fun movesets. The new update also comes with a community reward of 60 Primo Gems and 5 times Adventurer's Experience, with the code shown on screen. Believe it or not, the beautiful, expansive and content-packed world of Genshin Impact is free with frequent updates and new content, and is available for PC, Apple, Android and PlayStation. Genshin Impact is seriously awesome and super fun, so head to the link in the description to download Genshin Impact for free today. Thank you so much to Genshin Impact for sponsoring this video. I'm so excited to be working with them, and I really hope that you guys will check them out. And now let's get into the Dark Pokemon Iceberg Part 2. Silent Hills. In the Pocket Monsters 2 demo shown off at Space World, a prototype of the starting location, New Barktown, could be seen. However, in the demo the town was actually called Silent Hills, a familiar name to anyone who's ever been disappointed by the cancellation of a demo game. I'm sorry, I refuse to get over it. Anyway, Silent Hill 1 released around 8 months prior to the Japanese release of Gold and Silver, which is likely why they decided to rename the town as to not be associated with the horror franchise. Time travel implications. In Nintendo's first open world Pokemon game, Legends Arceus, the player is sent back in time to historic Hisui in order to finish the Pokédex. In the game, space-time distortions pop up and spawn Pokemon from the future into the game, including Porygon. This is extremely concerning, as Porygon is a digital Pokemon created using computer code and evolved using computer disks. This means that if the player catches a Porygon, computer code and hardware have now been brought into the past before the computer itself was even invented. Another strange effect of the space-time distortions are Rotom's various forms. Rotom is able to possess electronic appliances and change form, but back in the days of Hisui, washing machines, fans and fridges didn't really exist. Bizarrely, these forms are still accessible in the game, as a merchant called Ginter will sell the modern appliances to you at a high price, though they have different names such as mechanical cabinet for the fridge and mechanical circular saw for the lawnmower. Ginter presumably got these items in a space-time distortion, and again this brings into question the ramifications of electronic technology being brought into the past hundreds of years before they're meant to be invented. Alolan Executor is a dragon. Many fans were puzzled at the release of Alolan Executor, not only because of its bizarre and frankly goofy appearance, but because of its grass and dragon typing. You can say a lot of things about this guy, but you can't say that he looks like a dragon. But there's actually a pretty intriguing reason why Alolan Executor is a dragon type. It's been speculated that the tall and oafish tree was based on the Dracana tree, also known as the dragon tree. So basically, because of a silly pun, this guy is canonically a dragon. Kadabra lawsuit. If you're you've noticed a lack of Kadabra merchandise and trading cards over the years, here's why. Famous illusionist Uri Geller filed a controversial lawsuit against Nintendo in 1999 after alleging that they stole his name and signature image and turned him into, quote, an evil occult Pokemon character in reference to the Pokemon Kadabra. While these allegations may sound ridiculous, when you take a closer look, there's no doubt that the Pokemon is an intentional parody of the illusionist. Its signature item is a spoon, a nod to Geller's trademark spoon bending tricks, and its Japanese name is Young Geller, an obvious parody of his name. Because of the lawsuit, Kadabra was banned from the Pokemon trading card game and never featured prominently in merchandise, leading fans to send Geller hate mail regularly. However, the story has a somewhat happy end, as in late 2020, after 20 years of legal battles, Uri Geller finally issued an apology to fans and gave Nintendo permission to print Kadabra cards once again. I'm going to go for help. In Pokemon X and Y, a strange message is written on the back of the LEMMiNO station time board. I'm going to go for help. Wait in the usual place. Nearby, a young boy can be found saying, it should be someplace right around here, right? While this is indeed very creepy and remains unsolved to this day, there's a very simple and probable explanation. Pokemon is well known for teasing events or future game features and never following up on them, so many have theorized that this was either going to be turned into an event or developed further in Pokemon Z, which was rumored to have been scrapped early in development due to poor sales. Shedinja. Shedinja is an interesting Pokemon for multiple reasons. Firstly, it's the only Pokemon to actively die while you raise it. If you raise an Nincada to level 20, it will evolve into Ninjask, but if you have a spare slot in your party, Shedinja will also be added. This is because Shedinja is the ghostly shell of Nincada with a ghost type and adorable tiny halo to boot. As far as I'm aware, Nincada is the only Pokemon to give you a 2 for the price of 1 evolution. However, there's a scary side to Shedinja that extends beyond it being the reanimated corpse of your beloved Pokemon. Its dex entry from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl reads, quote, a discarded bug shell that came to life. Peering into the crack on its back is said to steal one's spirit. Now that's far from the creepiest dex entry out there, but the problem with this is, if it's in your party, you're staring straight into its back the whole time you're battling with it. So yeah, you canonically have no soul if you play Pokemon with Shedinja in your party. Pokemon manga zombies. The Pokemon manga is actually pretty infamous for having some gruesome moments, especially in the earlier issues. From an Arbok being decapitated during a Pokemon battle to Rayquaza stabbing Zinnia, there are some truly creepy moments, but the most iconic moment came from the 13th Pokemon Adventures manga, Cipher Psyduck. In the manga, Red arrives in Lavender Town and finds himself inside the Pokemon Tower, where undead Pokemon possessed by ghosts begin to emerge from the fog, and these decomposing Pokemon are rendered very graphically. While this entry is creepy, you can't deny that it's pretty cool as well. Malamar has affected history. Malamar, the overturning Pokemon, is a dark and psychic type introduced in Pokemon X and Y. It resembles a cross between a deep sea squid and a penguin, and if you thought it looked menacing, take a listen to its Ultra Sun and Shield Pokédex entries. When it comes to strong hypnosis, there's an endless number of people who utilize Malamar for their nefarious deeds. It's said that Malamar's hypnotic powers played a role in certain history-changing events. It's unknown what specific events Malamar has played a role in, but taking these two entries into account, we can probably assume that they weren't good. It's pretty wild that a Pokemon has basically canonically committed war crimes, or at least been involved in numerous horrifying historical events. Zodiac Theory. The Zodiac Theory proposes that every fire-type starter in Pokemon corresponds with an animal on the Zodiac calendar. The Zodiac is based on the lunar calendar and assigns an animal to each month, and historically every fire-type starter has resembled one of these animals. Cyndaquil is a rat, Tepig is a pig, obviously, Fennekin is a dog, Torchic is a rooster, Chimchar is a monkey, Charmander is a dragon, Scorbunny is a rabbit, and Litten is a tiger. At first I thought some of these were a stretch like Cyndaquil and Fennekin, but Cyndaquil is actually classified as the fire mouse Pokemon, and while Fennekin is based on a fennec fox, they are still canines, so it fits at a stretch. That was going to be it for the script, but as I was writing this, the trailer for 2 brand new Pokemon games, Scarlet and Violet, dropped, announcing 3 new starter Pokemon. Sprigatito, Quaxley, and most importantly Fuecoco, which doesn't really look like an ox, horse, sheep, or snake. Some have suggested that Fuecoco might lose its limbs and become serpentine, but judging by its appearance name and its literal classification as the Fire Croc Pokemon, I think we can finally put the Zodiac Theory to rest. It had a good run. Alchemy Theory. Yep, we're still talking theories. The Alchemy Theory is more specifically based on Sun and Moon and proposes that multiple Pokemon in the game are based off of alchemical symbols. For context, alchemy alchemy is, according to Merriam-Webster, quote, a medieval chemical science and speculative philosophy aiming to achieve the transmutation of the base metals into gold, the discovery of a universal cure for disease, and the discovery of a means of indefinitely prolonging life. It was basically a very outdated medieval form of speculative science, and alchemists identified various different concepts using symbols. Alchemical symbols include planets like Mars and Venus, elements like fire and air, and of course olive oil. But how exactly does this relate to Pokemon, you may be asking? Well, as illustrated by this image, it's theorized that the design elements and body shapes of the 3 starter Pokemon are based off of alchemical symbols. Rowlet resembles salt, aka the earth, Litten represents sulfur, aka fire, and Popplio represents mercury. I believe this is because of both mercury contamination frequently being found in water and there being water on the planet Mercury, but if there's another scientific reason for this link that I'm missing, definitely let me know. Dartrix's throwing pose looks eerily like the symbol for tin. Decidueye has been linked to various symbols like iron and arsenic, and the same goes for the other starter evolutions. It's worth noting that Sun and Moon themselves are 2 prominent alchemical elements that have their own symbols, so I honestly think this one is pretty believable. Character designers often pick subtle themes to add to their work, so maybe after settling on Sun and Moon they also decided to model some Pokemon off of alchemical symbols. If not, it's a hell of a coincidence, and if so, they did a really good job at subtly adapting these symbols into cool looking Pokemon. Arceus is God debate. It's long been debated whether Arceus is a god or not. It's obviously a god, being a powerful mythical Pokemon, but some fans have argued that the Sinnoh mythology, claiming it came from an egg in a place that there was nothing and created Dialga and Palkia, is simply folklore. After all of its Pokédex entries mention folklore, legends, and myth about the Pokemon, and many Pokédex entries appear to be theories or over-exaggeration, meaning that it's not always 100% accurate or true. Arceus is also able to be caught and used as a Pokemon in multiple games, which theorists argue a universe-creating god would never allow. Legends Arceus makes a strong point against this theory though, as the Pokemon is depicted in multiple cutscenes to be all-powerful and godlike, and its Pokédex entry reads, quote, it is the heavenly fount from which pours the light that shines across Hisui. Its luminance guides and protects all Pokemon. Hisuian mythology states that Arceus is the creator of all things. If the folklore is to be believed, Arceus created the world and maybe even the universe, which if that doesn't put someone at god status, I don't know what does. The Pokédex is haunted by Rotom. While Pokemon Sun and Moon appeared to be a fun tropical adventure in the sun, many fans were shocked at how dark the new Pokédex entries were. Pokemon is well known for sprinkling the occasional creepy Pokédex entry into the games, but Sun and Moon is just infamous for these really dark and unnecessarily unhinged Pokédex entries. Buried beneath the castle are masses of dried up bones from those whose vitality it has drained. When it finds humans or Pokemon it likes, it freezes them and takes them to its chilly den where they become decorations. Mega evolution fuels its brutality, and it may even turn on the trainer who raised it. It has been dubbed the blood-soaked crescent. Should you feel yourself attacked by a sudden chill, it is evidence of an approaching Gengar. There is no escaping. Give up. And these are just a few examples of the Sun and Moon Pokédex having absolutely no chill. Many have attributed these dark entries to the Pokédex in Sun and Moon actually being a Rotom Dex, essentially a regular Pokédex which has been possessed by the electric ghost type Rotom. Because Rotom is known to be mischievous and is a ghost type, it's believed that it may be purposely embellishing the entries to scare the player. Alternatively, some believe that since Rotom is a Pokemon, it has intimate knowledge of wild Pokemon behavior, and these entries are truer than the sugar-coated Pokédex entries of previous games. Machamp Golem DNA Scramble. This theory started when people began to notice certain oddities with Machamp and Golem's evolution lines. For example, Geodude evolves into Graveler and gains an extra set of arms, but then goes back to one pair when evolving into Golem. Meanwhile, Graveler loses its flat humanoid face and becomes reptilian in appearance, also taking on the distinct red eye color of Machop. I'm sure you can see where this is going. Since both Pokemon can only evolve into their 3rd evolution through trading, it's been theorized that these design discrepancies are a nod to the fact that when traded with one another, Machamp and Golem's DNA gets scrambled and they switch traits. Junji Ito Pokemon. This entry simply refers to a Halloween event in 2014 in which Pokemon collaborated with Junji Ito, the revered artist behind legendary stories like Uzumaki, Tomi, and the Enigma of Amigara Fault, created 2 Halloween illustrations of Gengar and Banette respectively. While these illustrations seem to fly under the radar for a number of years, they've resurfaced in the last few years as people have dug them up and spread them around on social media. media. These illustrations are amazing, though they will make you want to get a restraining order against Gengar. Relicanth is a map. This entry refers to the rather obscure theory that the patterns on Relicanth, a Generation 3 water rock type, are meant to resemble a map. In Pokemon Emerald, to catch the legendary Regis, you need a Wailord at the front of your party and a Relicanth at the end. It's theorized that the markings on Relicanth match up with the map of Hoenn, and the red dot marks the spot that the Regis, or at least one of them, is located. This is why you need to have Relicanth in your party, because it's your map. While I don't think that the markings are meant to line up perfectly, I think the combination of the map-like markings and the fact that you need it in your party to find the trio is pretty solid evidence that its design is at least loosely based around the concept of a map. The Regis are ancient and so is Relicanth, so the Pokemon acting as some kind of ancient long-lost map is a really cool concept. Giovanni jumped off the falls theory. In Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the player is able to take the special event GS Ball Celebi to Ilex Forest in order to time travel and face off against Giovanni at the top of Tojo Falls. After beating him, he's stricken by the defeat, and as he exits, the usual exiting sound effect isn't played but instead a splash sound. After the splash, Team Rocket members can be heard over the radio saying, "Where has Giovanni gone? I wonder if he's coming." Ethan or Lyra will comment on this saying, quote, "They keep calling their boss. I feel sorry that they don't know he's not coming." This seems to imply that Ethan or Lyra knows for a fact that Giovanni will not be returning. With all of this in mind, players have long speculated that Giovanni's loss at the hands of a kid caused him immense grief to the point that he jumped off the Tojo Falls into the rapid waters to end his own life. While this theory is interesting, like many other dark Pokemon theories, it's very doubtful that it's true. The splash sound is most likely the static of the radio as it turns on, and the kids probably know Giovanni isn't coming back because of shame rather than him not being alive. Shudo's original anime ending. According to the Pokemon anime's former head writer, the late Takeshi Shudo, both the anime and the movie were planned to have much darker endings. Shudo conceptualized a multi-part finale in which Pokemon fought back against their masters when they decided that they were being held captive and forced to fight, which would have led to a dramatic conflict between Ash and Pikachu. Shudo also described in detail his original idea for the movie's end, quote, "Months and years pass. Ash grows old, then one day suddenly he looks back on his past. He remembers his childhood fondly, the adventures he had with his amazing Pokemon, the friendship, the coexistence. Maybe Ash wasn't able to experience these things later in life. Elderly Ash remembers everything that happened during his adventures as a young boy. The next morning he's woken up by his mother. He's a young boy again, leaving his house, excited to start a new adventure." This ending is definitely a lot darker, but it's also a lot more impactful and bittersweet. It's probably good that it didn't end on such a definitive and sad note though, because it opened the doors for many other movies and anime series to come. Shudo noted that a lot of early concepts for Pokemon were far darker, but after the Electric Soldier Porygon incident, the company and higher-ups began cracking down on anything that might give Pokemon a bad name. This meant that Shudo's dark plotlines could no longer go under the radar as the brand became a lot more kid-friendly and clean. Still, it's interesting to think of what could have been, and if things had gone differently, the franchise could potentially be even darker than it already is. Victini is a nuclear bomb. You know how I said war would come up in the Iceberg again? Well, here it is. This theory proposes that Victini, the mythical psychic fire Pokemon introduced in Black and White, is actually based on an atomic bomb. Evidence for this includes its classification as the Victory Pokemon, as well as its Pokédex entry which reads, quote, "It creates an unlimited supply of energy inside its body which it shares with those who touch it." It's been argued that Victini's fire type combined with its unlimited energy are actually a reference to atomic weapons, and Victini is meant to be Unova's Victory Bomb. This is a pretty crazy theory, but it's highly unlikely as Victini is actually based on something far more innocuous, a method of cutting apple slices to make them look like little rabbits. Marshadow is a war victim. Similar to the Victini is a nuclear bomb theory, the Marshadow theory proposes that Marshadow, the mythical fighting ghost Pokemon introduced in Sun and Moon, is meant to represent a victim of war. Its name combines the word Mars, aka the god of war, and shadow, so Marshadow literally means the shadow of war. Its fighting and ghost typing may represent its status as a soldier who perished during the war. I really like this entry, but Marshadow's sword Pokédex entry kind of disproves it, reading, quote, "By slipping into the shadow of a martial arts master and copying their movements, this Pokemon learned the ultimate techniques. This means that its name is more likely a reference to martial arts, and Marshadow is meant to be more of a shadowy martial artist than a tortured soul from a long forgotten war." Who is the real first Pokemon? Who is the first Pokemon is kind of a debate within the Pokemon community and also serves as a sort of thought experiment / dilemma. Arceus is known as the original one, the very first Pokemon who created Dialga, Palkia, and most likely Giratina, and tasked them with creating the Pokemon universe with time, space, and antimatter. However, the mythical Pokemon Mew is described in Pokédex Pokédex entries as having the DNA of all Pokémon, with scientists theorizing that it's the ancestor of all Pokémon. This creates a paradox. Mew has every Pokémon's DNA and created all Pokémon, so without Mew, Arceus theoretically wouldn't exist, but without Arceus creating the universe, Mew wouldn't exist either. There are multiple theories to explain this. Arceus created the creation trio and tasked them with shaping the universe, so he may have created Mew and tasked it with creating Pokémon and populating the planet. This would mean that Mew is the ancestor of all regular Pokémon, excluding most legendaries. Alternatively, some theorize that Mew came first and was born into nothing, creating Arceus, who in turn created the universe for Mew to populate with Pokémon. Some theorize that because both Pokémon may have existed before Dialga, the representation of time, they both exist beyond the realm of time and therefore were both the chicken and the egg simultaneously, so to speak. It's definitely an interesting debate, and I'm genuinely curious to hear what you guys think. Arceus. Arceus has the ability to transform into every different type using plates, which not only change its type but also its colors. In the 4th generation, a sprite was found in the game files for a type Arceus, which appears pale green with pastel pink accents. It's only obtainable through hacking, and due to the game's mechanic of automatically switching any Arceus without a plate into a normal type, it spawns in as a normal type since there's no type plate in the game. It's interesting to ponder what this Arceus could have been, and I'm kind of bummed that it didn't make it into the original game since the colors are so cool. I think that it could potentially be an early prototype for the fairy type, or maybe even a type that we've never seen before, or it could just be a color test for Arceus's various sprites. But for now, Arceus remains a mystery. Or should I call it Arceus? Yveltal will cause the end of the world. Yveltal is a dark flying legendary which was introduced in Pokemon X and Y as 1/3 of the Aura trio. It's why Pokédex entry reads, quote, "When its life comes to an end, it absorbs the life energy of every living thing and turns into a cocoon once more." So not only do people in the Pokemon universe have to deal with murderous, mind-reading, kidnapping ghosts and monsters on a daily basis, they have to cope with the constant fear that the world could end at any second because a big Y-shaped piece of bacon died. This also leads onto the theory that X and Y is about life and death. Every Pokemon game has a variety of themes that it's based around, and it's obvious that X and Y is based on the concept of DNA. But a secondary theme of the game is life and death. Alongside Yveltal's potentially world-ending powers, it's listed as the Destruction Pokemon, while Xerneas is listed as the Life Pokemon. Zygarde represents order and balance, making sure that neither legendary is able to overpopulate the planet or turn it into a dead wasteland. Porygon is an abomination. Porygon, known as the Virtual Pokemon, is a normal type Pokemon introduced in Generation 1. This entry is pretty much what it says on the tin. Porygon is kind of an abomination. Porygon is made completely out of computer code and is able to travel freely through cyberspace, created by Pokemon Lab as the first ever man-made computer Pokemon. It's only able to do what's in its programming and is copy protected to prevent any Porygon piracy, but it has some pretty unsettling traits too. In Pokemon Legends Arceus, if the player catches a Porygon that's traveled back in time to ancient Hisui where computers haven't been invented yet, the Pokédex entry reads, quote, "It has no discernible heartbeat and does not seem to draw breath, and yet it appears to function without issue. I cannot even begin to explain this utterly bizarre anomaly." When upgraded using the upgrade item, Porygon transforms into Porygon 2, a more advanced version of its previous form both in terms of appearance and abilities. Porygon 2 was designed for space travel, but it can't fly, and according to the Pokédex, it sometimes performs actions that weren't programmed and, quote, "remembers things it doesn't need to know." When evolved or exposed to the dubious disc, it transforms into Porygon Z, which is where things seem to kind of fall apart. The combination of the dubious evolution item and the scrambled appearance seem to indicate that the upgrade went wrong and Porygon became corrupted. According to its Ultra Sun Pokédex entry, quote, "Its behavior is noticeably unstable, which is apparently due to the incompetence of the engineer who updated its programming." In Pokemon Legends Arceus, Porygon Z will twitch violently in its sleep, a reflection of the glitchiness and instability in its code. Hilariously, its Pokemon Legends Arceus Pokédex entry reads, quote, "A curious item induced this evolution. The Pokemon's offensive capabilities have greatly increased, but the strangeness of its behavior has magnified in equal measure." This worries me. Burger King Pokeball recall. The Burger King Pokeball recall is actually a pretty famous incident. During the release of Pokémon the first movie and as part of a $22 million promotion for the movie, Burger King began including small Pokémon capsules with toys inside with their kids' meals. The promotion was so popular and the toys were so in demand that just 10 days into the promotion they had to issue an apology for the shortages. However, about a month into the promotion, a 13-month-old was found deceased with half of the ball covering the nose and mouth. The Consumer Product Safety Commission very quickly asked Burger King to recall the toy to prevent any further harm, but the company refused, stating that they'd wait for an autopsy to come back to confirm that the ball was the cause of the death. They didn't want to spend time and money and potentially scare parents by recalling the Pokeballs if they weren't actually the cause of death, and they argued that the toy had passed multiple safety tests and met all safety standards. A few weeks after the initial incident, a father found his young child with half of the ball stuck on her nose and mouth, but quickly removed it, which finally pushed Burger King to begin the recall process. The CPSC told Burger King to wait 5 days to get a nationwide recall strategy sorted out, but in the meantime news leaked to the press and it wasn't pretty. The story blew up with numerous news outlets writing hit pieces on Burger King and blaming them for not acting fast enough. Burger King launched a $1 million recall campaign, printing recall notices on packaging trays, pushing out television advertisements and PSAs, and also offering free fries to parents who return the empty containers.
Burger King and the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission want you to know about the voluntary recall of this Pokemon Pokeball. The ball may pose a suffocation hazard to children under 3. Throw the ball away or return it to Burger King.
Despite this, less than half of the Pokeball containers were returned, and about a month after the second incident, another incident occurred in which a 4-month-old died. Though the number of deaths compared to the number of customers who received Pokeballs, which was in the millions, was minuscule, it was still a tragedy, and the incident gave Burger King a really bad name in the media for a long time. Abyssal Ruins Mystery. The Abyssal Ruins is a location in Pokemon Black and White accessible through Undella Bay. The ruins are unique in that the player can only take 500 steps before a torrent of water sends them back up to the surface, so players have to choose their steps wisely and make multiple visits in order to get all of the relics in the ruins. There are no Pokemon inside the ruins, there are no events related to the location, and multiple pop-ups appear as the camera shakes, indicating dull sounds getting closer. All of the Arceus plates can be found here, and there are numerous coded messages written on the walls, such as "King fought hatred. Listen to King's words. King defeated unknown symbol alone. The great king unknown symbol." These final few unknown symbols are mysterious. The unknown symbol in the last message is speculated to be Harmonia, the last name of N and Getsis, since the symbol is shown in deciphering documents in Black and White 2 as a series of censored dots. The number of dots changes in each language, and the name Harmonia is the only one that matches all of the dots in all of the different languages. From this we can assume the message reads, "The great king Harmonia." The other symbols are represented by 4 censored dots and have never been deciphered. So this brings us to the question, what exactly are the Abyssal Ruins for? Some have speculated that it was a resting place or even birthplace of Arceus due to the repeated mention of a king, mysterious thudding and stirring sounds, and all of the plates that can be found there. Others believe that the ruins relate to N and Getsis due to the inclusion of their last name Harmonia in the coded messages, though this theory begs several questions. If the Abyssal Ruins are so ancient, why would it be discussing N, who is only around 20 years old? N was adopted by Getsis, whose last name is listed as Harmonia, so presumably N wasn't born as a Harmonia either. While Getsis is older, he doesn't seem old enough to be written in ancient ruins, and King is described as welcoming, kind, and adventurous, which Getsis is very much not. Some even think that King might be referring to the player. Unknown King. Unknown King is a Pokemon creepypasta. In the story, the protagonist receives a copy of Pokemon Silver with instructions attached. They're directed to go to the ruins of Elf and offer up a specific team of Pokemon as a sacrifice in order to wake up a Pokemon known as Unknown King. Unknown King is a large Pokemon made up of many unknowns all stuck together and has blood coating its arms and legs. Text boxes pop up telling the player that they've freed the beast, and as they go through the world they realize that there's no one there. After facing off against Unknown King and losing, a figure pops up on the screen thanking the player for freeing the beast and dooming the human race. They realize that the playtime on the cartridge was 666 hours and the player's name was Jesus backwards and they can't sleep sleep for weeks and it's all very scary. This is a classic example of a Pokemon creepypasta. It's got all these creepy, gory Pokemon. It's a haunted cartridge. The player, despite being able to turn the game off at any time, never does. I'm biased because I like all these cheesy early creepypastas, but I really like Unknown King. I think it's a fun concept and the design for Unknown King is actually pretty cool. Unknown are human victims. True to their name, Unknowns have always been strange and mysterious Pokemon. Introduced in Generation 2 and known as the Symbol Pokemon, Unknown is a psychic type that currently has 28 different shapes, all in the form of different letters. A fan theory proposes that Unknown are actually meant to represent victims of nuclear war, and this is based off a few interesting pieces of evidence. Unknown are the only Pokemon that can be found within the ruins of Alph, a location in Pokemon Gold and Silver. Within the ruins, markings of Unknown are etched into the wall. In the Space World demo, however, the markings are more detailed, depicting a bunch of symbols including two human figures and a meteorite or fireball of some kind. The theory goes that Unknown are etched into the walls because they represent the phenomenon of shadows burning into the pavement due to nuclear bombs, as was observed at Hiroshima. The Unknown radio will also play sounds within the ruins that fans have compared to a Geiger counter. As was discovered in the Space World demo, the original Gold and Silver map was heavily based on Japan and its various cities before it was drastically changed in the final game. Some believe that the ruins of Alph were meant to represent Hiroshima and the Unknown were the many victims. This theory has never been definitively proven, and while some believe it due to the evidence, others believe that it's all a bit of a stretch. Misty is dead. Everyone knows about the Ash is dead or in a coma theory, but not as many people know about this wacky theory about Misty. In episode 25 of the Pokemon anime, Misty is licked by a Haunter. Haunter's silver Pokedex entry reads, "Its tongue is made of gas. If licked, its victim starts shaking constantly until death eventually comes." Fans have theorized that Misty actually died during this encounter, but I think it's fair to chalk this one up to good old cartoon logic. U/Gaming Prime Special Edition. Gaming Prime Special Edition refers to a post on the r/gaming subreddit by a user called Gaming Prime titled, "So I have been told by Nintendo's repair center that there's nothing wrong with my game right after they wiped 30 hours of gameplay. I present to you Pokemon X Special Edition." An album of photos is attached depicting a very broken and glitched copy of Pokemon X. The most notable issue is that many Pokemon have no face, with their face area being a blank see-through square, while some Pokemon have shells, tails, or eyes missing. Character and NPC heads are non-existent, the models stretch and distort across the screen, path textures are missing, and there's the super creepy Miltank with blank wide eyes. The OP came to the conclusion that the 3DS was actually the problem, as their friend's copy also glitched when they tried to play it on the 3DS, and by the sounds of it, OP was able to get a refund or repair on their broken console. Honestly, a really fascinating glitch, and I wonder if any of you guys have experienced this, or if it's common, or if this was just like a one-off glitch to Gaming Prime's console. Deoxys is Pokerus. Pokerus is a game mechanic introduced in Generation 2. It's a Pokemon virus that can infect the player's Pokemon and be passed between party Pokemon, though it actually has positive stat effects, raising the EV of infected Pokemon. This entry refers to the theory that Deoxys, a psychic type mythical introduced in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, is actually Pokerus. Let me explain. Deoxys formed from a mutated virus that came to Earth in a meteorite, and the only other virus known in the Pokemon world is Pokerus. Deoxys is unique in that it has 4 different forms: normal, attack, defense, and speed. Compare this with the EVs that Pokerus raises: HP, attack, special attack, defense, and speed. Therefore, it's believed that Deoxys and Pokerus are linked, and there are a few different theories to explain this. Deoxys shares the same origin as the Pokerus, being formed alongside the virus in space and bringing it to Earth in the meteorite, or even that Deoxys and Pokerus are one and the same, with the Pokemon being a literal embodiment of the virus. Either way, it's a cool theory and one that I honestly think is pretty plausible. Porygon 3. This entry simply refers to the popular speculative fan evolution of Porygon. Fans believe that with every update, Porygon becomes more and more realistic and closer in appearance to an actual animal, more specifically a bird of some kind. The most popular fan-made Porygon 3 design depicts the Pokemon as a more realistic duck-like Pokemon, having completed its transformation from a polygonal code Pokemon into a more fully formed and realistic model. Imakuni. Tomoaki Imakuni is a Japanese musician who performed music for the Pokemon anime and illustrated several trading cards. He's been described as eccentric and became a popular figure within the community as he got several of his own Imakuni trading cards, though they aren't meant for actual play and are mostly just unusable joke cards. He was also depicted multiple times in the manga. Imposter Oak. Imposter Oak refers to a Pokemon trading card which depicts a menacing figure posing as Professor Oak. Interestingly, in the Gold and Silver Space World demo leak, sprites for Imposter Oak were found, which suggests that he was meant to be a villain in the original plot of Gold and Silver before it was scrapped. Pokemon Pokemon Lost Silver. Admittedly, this entry should actually be a lot higher on the list because Lost Silver is a very popular Pokemon creepypasta, but this is my first time making an iceberg and I messed up the formatting on this. I should have put it higher, so apologies for that. Anyway, Pokemon Lost Silver is a creepypasta originating from 4chan that tells the story of a boy who picks up a haunted Pokemon cartridge from a bargain bin at GameStop. Upon opening the game, OP finds that the previous player's saved game had everything maxed out as well as a full Pokédex and a very strange party containing 5 unknowns spelling out the word leave and a Cyndaquil named Hurry. Finding himself trapped in an empty Bellsprout tower in a room he's never been in before, the player uses flash and illuminates a blood red room with a sign reading "Turn back now." Are you getting chills yet? The Cyndaquil faints in the unknown spell out "He died" before OP sinks into the ground and emerges as a completely pale white sprite with hyper-realistic blood eyes. Ooh! He gets a glitch shiny Celebi and faces off against Red, who has a crying Pikachu sprite, eventually winning the match after both Pokemon die. He's transported to his house where he walks out into a glitched black void covered in graves, realizing that the playable character has been dead for many years prior as the unknown in his party spell out "I'm dead." It's another generic and pretty cheesy Pokemon creepypasta, but it's a staple within the fandom and definitely the scariest thing that I and many other young Pokemon fans had ever read at a young age. Darkrai kills. This entry simply refers to the fact that Darkrai is assumed to have killed at least one person with its ability to create horrifying nightmares. Known as the Pitch Black Pokemon, Darkrai is a Dark-type mythical Pokemon introduced in Generation 4 who is well known for its ability to create and trap people in horrible nightmares as a means to defend itself. As we discussed earlier in the Iceberg, it's been speculated that the Marvelous Bridge and Strange House Ghost was killed by Darkrai trapped in an eternal nightmare. It's worth noting that the Pokédex repeatedly mentions that Darkrai doesn't mean to harm people and is simply misunderstood and outcast. Missing No in X and Y. Missing No is by far the most popular glitch within Pokemon, with countless rumors and creepypastas circulating around it, giving it an almost mythical quality. Naturally, Pokemon fans were shocked and excited when rumors began to spread that Missing No was in X and Y. At the Lumio City boutique, when standing at a certain angle, an eerily familiar glitch shape appears in the doorway. After being left as a mystery for 6 years, the rumor was debunked by She Says of Boundary Break when he confirmed that the graphical error was caused by the model of a coffee shop doorway on the other side of the entrance. So while it was a glitch, it unfortunately wasn't the beloved Missing No making a cameo. Roaming Darkrai. In 2020, when the source code for Diamond and Pearl was leaked onto the internet, it was found that Darkrai was originally meant to be a roaming Pokemon. Roaming Pokemon are legendary or mythical Pokemon that are released onto the map and appear at random locations rather than remaining stationary. According to @MrCheese, who made a thread analyzing the code, quote, "As far as the engine is concerned, Darkrai is a roamer. They just never called the command with his parameter. It's likely that this was an early story idea or event that was scrapped." Coughing in a Holocaust museum. Coughing is a poison type Pokemon introduced in Generation 1 and is classified as the poison gas Pokemon. So naturally people were upset when a screenshot of the mobile game Pokemon Go circulated online depicting a coughing in the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. The image went viral for its obvious horrible implications, though the legitimacy of the screenshot has been debated. According to an article by the Washington Post, the museum had been marked as a Pokestop alongside other landmarks in the area, and people were reportedly playing when the article's author visited the site. In the Washington Post article, the author describes a man named Dustin who dropped a lore module within the museum, while his friend, a woman named Angie, quoted, "It's not like we came here to play, but gotta catch 'em all." It should honestly go without saying, but genuinely playing a Pokemon game at a site like this is just incredibly disrespectful and honestly just really sad. 9/11 catch rates. In early 2020, source code from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl was leaked online and it led to a bizarre discovery. Hidden within the game's code, hackers found that Pokemon were 10% less likely to spawn on 9/11 as well as other anniversaries for tragedies such as the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's been theorized that this was to discourage players from playing the game during days of mourning, though as fans have discussed, this 10% spawn decrease is barely noticeable and likely would have never been found if not for the leaks. So their attempt at dissuading players from playing at best made no impact and at worst encouraged players to play the game since there would hypothetically be 10% less Zubats in the game. Arceus is a hand. Arceus's Pokédex entry in Pokemon Diamond reads, quote, "It is described in mythology as the Pokemon that shaped the universe with its 1,000 arms. As some have theorized, and as strange as this sounds, Arceus is A hand. Removing its head makes this far more apparent. Each of its pointed legs is a finger complete with golden fingernails, making the Pokemon's body appear as an unfurling hand. Its pointed tail looks more like a wrist stretching into the distance in this context, and the golden ring on its back becomes far more literal. I don't think this is too far-fetched of a theory. Designers will often try to incorporate character traits and history into designs in subtle ways, and while I don't think Arceus is meant to be a one-to-one representation of a hand, I find it plausible that they base the Pokemon's shape and design elements off of one of its 1,000 hands. If not, it's a very cool coincidence. Eternatus is a corrupted hand. It's theorized that if Arceus is a hand, Eternatus is a corrupted hand. Eternatus is a poison dragon-type legendary and the primary antagonist of Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's described as a powerful alien Pokemon who came to Earth inside a meteorite 20,000 years ago and has the ability to absorb energy. Removing the body of Eternatus makes its head appear as a skeletal hand complete with knuckles and joints, which is why so many have theorized that Eternatus is meant to represent one of Arceus' 1,000 arms. Further supporting this theory is its Eternamax form, which is literally a hand reaching down from above. While this theory is cool, canonical evidence is scarce, and at the moment this is just fan speculation. Relicanth is native to New Zealand. In December of 2017, Pokemon Go celebrated its Holiday 2017 event, which coincided with the release of 20 aquatic Hoenn Pokemon. One of these new Pokemon was Relicanth, a water rock type based on the real-life Coelacanth. But this release was actually met with a lot of anger and outrage because Relicanth could only be caught in New Zealand. Finally, some Pokemon representation for us Kiwis. Unlike most other regional variants who have pretty large spawn zones like the Western Hemisphere or the entirety of Africa or America, Relicanth's spawn zone was so small and out of the way that it made it near impossible for non-Kiwi players to catch it. To remedy that, there have been a few in-game events allowing players across the globe to catch it, though Relicanth still remains as one of the rarest catches in Pokemon Go. Also, fun fact, coelacanths have absolutely nothing to do with New Zealand. Unlike other regional variants who very much fit their spawn locations like Sigilif in Egypt, Corsola along the coast, and Maractus in the southern United States and Mexico, there are no coelacanths in New Zealand. Our National Museum, Te Papa, even wrote an article about the exclusive mon, noting that no fossilized or living coelacanths have ever been found in or around New Zealand. I guess until they make a Kiwi-themed Pokemon, we're stuck with Relicanth. Original Dragon Creation Trio Theory. This is a very fascinating theory proposing that there's actually a fourth member of the Creation Trio. We all know that the Creation Trio, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, represent time, space, and antimatter, but their types also represent the three states of being. Dialga is steel, representing solid matter, Palkia is water, representing liquid matter, and Giratina is ghost, representing gaseous matter. But there's one problem: there's actually 4 states of matter, with the fourth one being plasma. While there is a plasma Pokemon, Rotom, he isn't exactly legendary material, so we need to look a bit deeper. In Pokemon Black and White, the 3 primary legendaries, Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem, were supposedly once one dragon that broke apart into 3 beings, and their original form was called the Original Dragon. An article on the topic of plasma reads, quote, "To make plasma, energy is needed to strip electrons from atoms. The energy can be of various forms: heat, electrical, or light. According to their respective dex entries, Reshiram's fire is hot enough to move atmospheres and quote-unquote scorch the earth, while Zekrom can generate powerful lightning bolts and can raise kingdoms with its electricity. Theorists propose that when these 2 powerful legendaries were combined into the Original Dragon, the combined heat and electricity formed plasma. Further evidence includes the post-game of Black and White 2, in which the player is gifted the Adamant, Lustrous, and Griseous Orbs, which are items that can only be used by the Creation Trio. Additionally, the Light and Dark Stones are key items associated with Reshiram and Zekrom respectively, but a third key called the Godstone was found in the game's code, which was never implemented into the game. It's possible that this Godstone item was originally linked to the Original Dragon, but it's also possible that it was just a scrapped item for Kyurem. Pokemon alters the brain. In 2019, Stanford psychologists studied the effect that Pokemon has on the human brain and discovered something fascinating. The study took a group of people who had played Pokemon from a young age and a group that had not, and put them into an MRI machine to monitor their brains as they were shown Pokemon images. Those who had played the early games from a young age exhibited unique activity in the occipitotemporal sulcus, leading the study to conclude that certain Pokemon players exposed to the game at a young age had an area of the brain that responded in a unique preferential manner to Pokemon images. Pokemon Go tragedies. The Pokemon Go craze of 2016 was a time period in which the Nintendo app Pokemon Go went viral globally, causing thousands to flock to the streets and and attend meetups and events all around the world. Pokemon Go became so popular that it briefly overtook Twitter in terms of usage, and at its peak had over 250 million users per month. Unfortunately, with so many people taking to the streets, especially while distracted by their phones, there were bound to be a few accidents. According to a paper called Death by Pokemon Go, it was estimated that the app caused upwards of 150,000 car accidents, 256 deaths, and over $2 billion in damages. Honestly, these figures seem pretty ridiculous to me, and it seems that they're really overblown because they took sample data from one county in Indiana and applied it to the whole of the United States. So these figures aren't particularly accurate, and this combined with multiple rumors about robberies, murders, and deaths relating to the game mean that actually determining how deadly Pokemon Go was is quite difficult. The Pokemon Go death tracker puts the number at 22 deaths and 61 injuries, most of which were related to car accidents, robberies, and disputes over the game. However, other sources have put the number much higher. Flapple Snow White theory. To round off this list, let's end on a high note. Flapple. Applin has an interesting evolution path. When fed a sweet apple, it evolves into Appletun, the apple nectar Pokemon, and when fed a tart apple, it evolves into Flapple, the apple wing Pokemon. Applin, Flapple, and Appletun were some of the most widely praised new designs in recent memory, with adorable, unique designs and even cooler shiny forms. But one theory states that these apples may not be so sweet after all. Flapple's Pokedex entry reads, quote, "It ate a sour apple and that induced its evolution. In its cheeks it stores an acid capable of causing chemical burns. Additionally, Appletun is the only Pokemon able to learn the move Apple Acid." All of these mentions of acid and sour apples have led some to believe that the Applin line is meant to be a nod to the story of Snow White, where the princess is poisoned by an apple. This is a fun theory, but there's little in-game evidence to actually support this specific theory, especially with the Pokemon's typing being grass and dragon rather than grass and poison. Even if it were poisonous, I would still support Flapple with all of my heart. You could never disappoint me. And that concludes the Pokemon Iceberg. Pokemon is a huge franchise, and I'm sure that despite there being like 100 entries, there are still so many things that I didn't even get to touch on this iceberg. So if you know of any creepy fan theories, creepy Pokedex entries, creepy stories, anything creepy relating to Pokemon that didn't make it onto this iceberg, definitely let me know down in the comments. Hopefully you learned something new or just found this entertaining. Let me know if you like the topic, and as always, definitely let me know if there's anything that you want me to cover in the future. I can't thank you guys enough for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I can't thank you guys enough for supporting the channel, and it just means the world to me. So thank you guys so much, and yeah, I really hope to see you in the next one. Bye! Thank you so much to my Garfield overlords over on Patreon: Jorge K. Cruz, Michelle Olsen, Matt LRJ, Ann Ginkgo Fox, Chicory, Trebizonde, SHSL Sunsun, Doug, Jordan Nielsen, Dana Homegardner, Charlie B, Simon, John Leach, Ren Pendragon, Pom, Agarafin, Xavier Araujo, Helm Hamburger Hand, Durzo Blint, Sheriff Whiskey, The Furby Librarian, Redmeth, Astrium Vortex, Jesse Chisholm, Sophie Skedder, Brianna Robinson, Grip Gunderson, Jane, Kimono My Gyro, Joe Bradshaw, and Arcantilus. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. As always, if you want to join these guys over on Patreon, the link will be in the description, and yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting me. Thank you for watching the video, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Bye!